The air in the detention block smelled of ozone and cold. Recycled metal. Commander Crix of the Galactic Hegemony Armada breathed it in like a perfume, the scent of absolute order. His boots, polished to a mirror sheen, clicked a precise rhythm on the hexagonal deck plating as he approached Cell 7. Behind him, the soft whir of his second-in-command's recording drone was the only other sound. The human was already there, held upright between two armored Vex sentinels. It looked unimpressive. No natural armor plating, no energy-diffusing fur, just pale, soft skin stretched over a fragile endoskeleton. Its standard-issue gray shipsuit was torn at the shoulder. It was bleeding a thin, crimson trickle from a shallow scalp wound in. Its breathing was a ragged, wet sound in the quiet chamber. Subject Crix began, his voice a modulated baritone designed for authority. You are charged with piracy, sabotage of a Hegemony patrol vessel, and the unlawful death of 3 Galra soldiers. The evidence is irrefutable. Do you have anything to say before sentence is carried out? The human lifted its head. Its eyes, two unnerving pools of blue in a field of white, focused on Crix with an intensity that felt out of place. It didn't look afraid. It looked curious. Sentence. The human rasped, a faint smile touching its bloodied lips. You mean you're going to skip the trial? That's not very civilized. Commander Crix felt a ripple of irritation. Civilized. They always threw that word around. These upstart species from the chaotic rim, they didn't understand the clean, efficient civilization the Hegemony had built. Your actions have forfeited any claim to due process, Crix stated, nodding to the Vec on the right. The Sentinel raised its particle disruptor pistol, a weapon that could reduce a being to its constituent atoms. A clean, painless, and dignified end. Standard procedure for vermin. A warning then, the human said, the smile not fading. Don't. The Vex Sentinel did not hesitate. It fired. A beam of condensed violet light, silent and absolute, struck the human square in the chest. The air crackled with the smell of ionized particles. The human's body convulsed, back arching against the grip of the other sentinel. Then it sagged. Crix waited for the soft hiss of dissipating matter. It didn't come. Instead, the human coughed. A wet, messy, profoundly organic sound. It raised its head again. There was a blackened, smoldering crater in the fabric over its sternum, revealing blistered and angry skin beneath, but the chest still rose and fell. Impossible. A direct hit from a Mark 7 disruptor at this range would vaporize a Krogner battle beast. Before Crix could process the violation of physics, the human did something worse. It laughed. It started as a choked, pained gurgle deep in its throat, then blossomed into a full, rich, and utterly horrifying sound. It wasn't hysterical. It wasn't mad. It was a laugh of genuine, deep-seated amusement, as if Crix had just told the most delightful joke. The sound echoed off the sterile walls, clashing violently with the chamber's solemn silence. Crix took an involuntary step back, his carapace plates tightening. The recording drone emitted a confused chirp. The Vex Sentinels, programmed for 1,000,000 combat scenarios, stood frozen, their grip on the human slackening in sheer cognitive dissonance. The human wiped blood from its mouth with the back of its hand, its laughter subsiding into a series of pained, joyful shakes. Oh, it wheezed, tears of mirth mingling with the blood on its face. Oh, you really don't know. You have no idea what you're playing with. What are you? Crix demanded, his modulated voice cracking with a static of unease. Disappointed, the human said, its grin turning sharp. I was hoping for a challenge that tickled enough. This was an aberration, a glitch, a previously unknown biological resistance. Perhaps it changed nothing. The Hegemony had dealt with resilient species before. Kinetic sidearm Crix snapped, his composure returning in a cold wave. Dignity was lost, but efficiency remained. Primitive projectile weapons were messy, but they were a reliable, physical solution. A Vec drew a solid slog pistol from a thigh holster heavy. Brutal thing designed for breaching doors and ending debates. The human's eyes locked onto the weapon. The amusement didn't leave its face, but it hardened, crystallizing into something predatory. The Vec didn't bother with a speech. It pressed the muzzle against the human's forehead, the cold metal indenting the skin. It fired. The boom was a physical shockwave in the confined space, assaulting auditory receptors meant for the gentle hum of starships and the soft chime of data streams. Crix flinched. The human's head snapped back. A spray of red painted the wall behind it in a grotesque Rorschach blot. Then, with a wet, grinding sound, it pulled its head forward. A furrow was gouged across its scalp, just above the hairline. Bone, pale and startling, was visible for a moment before a fresh rush of blood obscured it. The human blinked, shaking its head like a beast dislodging water. A flattened, distorted piece of metal, the bullet clinked to the floor, rolling in a lazy circle before settling at Crix's feet. The silence that followed was thicker than before, pregnant with shattered reality. The stench of cordite, a primitive, acrid smell Crix had only read about in historical texts, filled his olfactory sensors. The human looked at the Vec, who had shot it. The laughter was gone, replaced by a calm so profound it was more terrifying than any scream. My turn, it said softly. Its hands, which had hung limp, moved. It was not a blur of superspeed, not a display of impossible strength. It was a simple, efficient, brutally trained motion. A twist, a pull, a sharp, cracking pop as it dislocated its own thumb, slipping from the Vec's stunned grasp. Its other hand came up, fingers driving like steel spikes into the Sentinel's primary visual sensor cluster. The Vec reeled back, emitting a shriek of synthetic agony. The human didn't pursue. It dropped into a crouch, snatched the fallen kinetic pistol from the floor where the Vec had dropped it, and in one fluid motion, rose and fired. Boom! The other Vec Sentinel, the one still holding the disruptor, stumbled back. A neat, perfectly round hole appeared in the center of its polished chest plate, a hole that should not exist. Hegemony battle armor could deflect high-energy plasma and disperse concussive forces. It was a laminate of ceramite and energy-diffusing mesh, the pinnacle of 1,000 years of martial evolution. Yet there was the hole. Through it, Crix could see the sparking, shredded ruins of the Sentinel's internal systems. It collapsed, a puppet with its strings cut, hitting the deck with a final, heavy clang. The human pivoted, the smoking pistol aimed now at Crix. Blood sheeted down the side of its face, painting its neck and shoulder crimson. Its blue eyes were chips of glacial ice in the storm of red. "You see, Commander," the human said, its voice calm, conversational, as if discussing stellar cartography. "You made a mistake. You thought weapon meant the thing you hold. It doesn't." It tapped its own temple with the barrel of the gun, leaving a smudge of soot and blood. "The weapon is the mind that makes it, and the will to use it." It gestured with the pistol at the dead Vec. "Your armor was designed for your wars, for energy weapons, for plasma, for force fields. You laughed at our primitive kinetics. You forgot that primitive doesn't mean ineffective." Crix stood frozen, his tactical mind racing into a void. The recording drone hovered, capturing it all. The laughing, unkillable human. The dead Sentinel with the impossible hole in its invincible armor. His own stunned, silent horror. The human took a step forward, its boots leaving sticky red prints on the clean hexagons. It smiled again, a ghost of its former amusement. "You wanted a confession, Commander. Here it is. We're not pirates, we're archaeologists. And we just dug up the one thing your perfect, civilized hegemony should have left buried." It raised the pistol, not at Crix, but at the recording drone. "Tell your bosses," it said, "the humans are awake, and we brought our own toys." Boom. The world went dark, then red, as shards of the drone pattered against Crix's carapace like metallic rain. When his emergency optics reset, the cell door was sliding open into the corridor beyond, and the human was gone, leaving only the smell of blood, cordite, and a silence that screamed.